welcome back to the number one UFC picks podcast in the world, No Brainer MMA. This episode is brought to you by our beloved sponsors, Audible. Because I know a lot of you guys can't read out there, so that's nice. And we're gonna get right into this: Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. I'll start off with the former interim lightweight champ, Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje started the UFC with 7 straight UFC fight bonuses, including that title win before he met Khabib and was subbed in the second after a banger of a back and forth first round. He won one, lost one since. He's had a war and fight of the night win over Michael Chandler and lost his last time out to Charles Oliveira for the lightweight belt. That was the fight where Oliveira came in half a pound over and wasn't able to fight for the title, but if Gaethje won, he still would have been champ. And it was a classic Gaethje brawl for however long it lasted. Gaethje is one of the most entertaining fighters on the UFC roster, maybe UFC history. Win or lose, he's put on some of the greatest fights we've ever seen. From his UFC debut against Michael Johnson, and actually the fight after that was even better against Eddie Alvarez. And that Tony Ferguson interim title belt win was a war, and probably like one of the greatest fights of all time at 155. But Gaethje's worst enemy is Justin Gaethje. He has an amazing wrestling background that he's never used, and his throw caution to the wind, take a shot to return one is not really how you win fights. But even with that mentality, he still manages to compete at the highest level. Now, Fiziev is one of the more technical, powerful strikers at 155. Fiziev doesn't just belong to one of the best striking gyms in all of MMA, but Tiger Muay Thai, but he is one of their coaches, their striking coach, actually. He doesn't have that same volume as Gaethje, but he's got the power edge for sure. Definitely has the technical advantage. And people are all in on Fiziev, but I don't think it's going to be as one-sided as people think. Let's take a look back at Fiziev's last 3 fights. He fought 3 fights ago. He fought Lean Mean Bobby Green, who I'm a huge fan of, and I think the judges have robbed Bobby Green countless times, and it's a real disgrace. But Green outstruck Fiziev in every round. Fiziev was wearing more damage than Bobby at the end. Bobby looked like he had barely a scratch on him. And yeah, Fiziev got his hand raised at the end of that. And I know that might be a hot take, but go back and watch that fight. I think you'll be surprised.
I think you'd be surprised. I really do. I think he'd fuck you up.
Then Fiziev in his next fight took on Brad Riddell, who had a lot of hype at the time. He was 4-0 in the UFC. And it was a very close back and forth fight before that insane wheel kick that KO'd Riddell in the 3rd round. But Riddell, we found out, wasn't ready for this level of competition. He's on a 3-fight losing skid right now and just hasn't really looked the best. Maybe not all what he was hyped up to be. Then he took on seasoned vet RDA in his last time out. And I think it was 2-2 going into the 5th. And this is what I love about Fiziev. He can finish a fight anytime. He went out there in the 5th round and KO'd RDA for the win. Didn't let it go into the judges' hands. Great wins on paper, but it wasn't as dominant as people like to say it was. Stylistically, for this fight, Fiziev definitely has the advantage. Like I said before, he's more technical. He's got the power. But in the back of my head, I'm seeing Gaethje turning this into a dirty backyard brawl like he usually does. And if Fiziev bites and gets sucked into a swanging and banging type fight, and, you know, Fiziev has been known to slow down a little bit. He has gotten better cardio recently, but in his earlier fights, he did have some cardio issues. And I think I could see Gaethje's strikes start adding up like in that Bobby Green fight. And this one's honestly super tough for me. I know people are just picking Fiziev right off the bat, but it's tough, honestly. But I think I'll go with my heart, and that might be a reach, but I'm going to go with Justin Gaethje. But maybe I think I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this one. It's definitely not going to disappoint. But the over, if you do want to bet on it, I think the over sounds pretty good. It's 1.5 rounds, minus 170. And I think that's pretty fair. I can even see this going the distance. So I'm going to be going with, I really like the over, minus 170, 1.5 rounds. But I'm going to go with my heart, Justin Gaethje. You know, don't tear me apart too much in the comments.